What is up, Dragon Ball fans? Simon here. Welcome to HannaTalk. Hope you're all doing fantastic. We're almost to the end of 2020. We're nearly there at 2021, but hope you're all doing fantastic. And let's finish off this year with a bang. Today, I'm here with a very special guest. Now, he is an actor who is best known to fans from the Dragon Ball franchise as Dr. Gero, Mercenary Tao, the Supreme Kai, and the Old Kai, but he's also played across series such as Ace Attorney as the Judge, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood as Father, Fruits Basket as Hattori Soma, and much more. Please welcome the amazing and a very special happy birthday to Kent Williams.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good enough. I mean, as well it can be as expected, here in COVID-ridden Texas.
Absolutely. I know exactly what you mean by that, and which actually goes into my first question. Obviously, during this time with what was happening this year with the pandemic, how have you been keeping things up, especially on the acting side of things?
Well, for me, recording anime is a fraction of what I do for a living. My main living is as a performing artist here in Texas, around the state. I work with a marionette company, and so 90% of my work is gone and has been since March 13th. Funimation, they sent many of us actors home with kits. So we have an at-home kit, so we're all have kind of like that sort of equalizes everybody with technology. And so we record mainly from home. So we are still recording content, and so that's been going on. Started out very slowly, but we're ramping it up a little bit.
Right, that's fantastic. And that definitely seems to have been the case with a lot of voice actors, especially some I've actually spoken with this year who've said they actually started home recording studios before 2020 even struck, as a way to get extra work or as a way to do recording sessions when they're not able to get access to a studio. So that's fantastic.
Right, and then the company that I work with, we were in the process of purchasing a new facility as a sort of warehouse and studio. So once everything hit, and we lost all our ability to generate revenue, we weren't able to do that very thing that you were just describing, create a studio from which I would then be able to record if and when I needed.
Right.
Rather than have one at home. It's I'm an older guy, so the tech is kind of tough for me. My son grew up, with computers in schools, but I learned how to type as a senior in high school on an electric typewriter. I mean, we used to laugh at the kids in college that had word processors. So just, the whole just explosion of tech and the progression of it has been quite a ride for people in my generation.
Absolutely. I think it's definitely the same, I think, for a lot of us in that sense, especially having to use, we're all having to rely on technology in the case of what's happened this year through Skype and also in this case with Zoom so far.
Yeah, well, I use a lot of Zoom locally, so this is working out. We do a lot of Zoom meetings. I do a lot of teaching, so classes happen in Zoom, things like that.
Fantastic. Now, let's get started with talking about the very beginning of your career. How did you get started in acting?
Wow. I grew up in rural Texas. Dallas is sort of like, the big city that I grew up around. It was a few hours away, but, when anytime we had to do some shopping, we would drive into town. I was living in pretty much arts poor North Texas, and didn't have a lot of influence. We might have like a school show, something like that, but I used to watch the old Carol Burnett show on television. I wasn't supposed to, but I'd sneak out and take a peek at that, and just fell in love with all the song and dance and the comedy and everything, and I wanted to be a part of it. So I started out, while everybody else was at the rodeo, I'd go over to the park and make costumes out of loose leaf notebook paper and crayons and kind of just put on my own plays by myself. I was in high school before I even saw a professional production. It was like that. And then just got into theater at my school and then ended up going to college for it and then stayed here in Dallas, which is where I went to school. I went to Southern Methodist University and studied theater and have just been sticking with it ever since.
Fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. And who would you consider to be like your biggest influences?
Oh, gosh. You know, they're mostly stage actors or old school performers. I'm a huge fan of Gene Kelly. That was the guy I used to watch in the old movies, the song and dance movies. Before, and that's what really got me turned onto it. I got to meet him in college when he had been invited in to for an award, and got to meet him there. I was far more interested in meeting him than he was in me, but as far as like the voiceover stuff goes, I just I don't know that I really have a strong influence. I just kind of stumbled into it. I was doing stage, and I started dating a reviewer who gave me a really good review, and he happened to be doing an article about this new company that came out of Canada called Funimation, and they had this show called Dragon Ball, and then he hooked me up with an audition, and it just kept going from there.
Fantastic.
Just snowballed, yeah. So that's been a really great gift.
Fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. And do you walk with any sort of project that you worked on in the past, and you still currently do you walk into a series or a project expecting to play a certain role, or is it like a jack in the box, not knowing what's going to pop out?
I never know. I don't always get cast as who I audition for. Sometimes the auditions work that they have a roster of characters, male characters in your age that you can audition for, but sometimes those auditions are for other characters that you don't actually see in the auditions, if that makes sense. So that way the director just gets a sense of what you're doing and decides where to put you. Now, for those of us who are veterans, who have been with Funimation since, the very early days, we have a little bit of a leg up. So mostly we don't have to audition so much anymore. We just get a call from our agent that lets us know that they booked us for hours on such and such a show with a certain director. Now, recently, I just got cast for a role that I did audition for. I can't say what it is, but I'm so excited about it. I actually screamed in the studio when I found out. So, I mean, those surprises still happen, and it's not passé. It's very exciting. And I think I could say that for pretty much all of us. It's a treat. It's an honor to be in this kind of community of voice actors.
Absolutely.
And then beyond, because most of the actors that I know and work with, we also do radio ads and things like that, and video games, of course.
Absolutely, that's absolutely fantastic. And when you were mentioning about, of course, with we're talking about with auditions and like roles and all that kind of stuff, have you ever turned down an audition for any particular reason?
Never.
Wow.
Never. Why? Why would I? Now, I've used a pseudonym before if it was, a sort of little sexy or a dirty kind of a show, the kind where no one's allowed in the studio, and that's because I do a lot of work with schools, a lot of work with kids, and I'm one of those actors that anybody who approaches me on Facebook or social media, I just go ahead and add them. I don't have any kinds of separate accounts, things like that. I just let everybody in, so I do try to manage, what people say. I've had to ask people to please remove posts because I know that children or their parents, mostly their parents, would find things offensive. But as far as roles go, I've never turned down a single role.
Right, that's fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. And talking about it a little bit more with regards to like your work within anime. Now, as many fans of anime will know, that a majority of anime is based on manga. Have you ever read the manga for any anime series you worked on, or became familiar or heard of a project before you started working on that series?
I've taken a look at the manga before. We did, especially in the beginning. So let's see, we started out with the all the Dragon Ball, and then we thought, that was going to be pretty much it. And then Funimation brought in Yu Yu Hakusho, and then they brought in Fruits Basket, which of course originally was a very short series. My son was on it as a kid, so that was really exciting. And that was the one, it was Fruits Basket, where, we really started to pay attention to what we were doing.
That's interesting.
I'm looking over here at my bookshelf, and I think I actually do have copies of the manga from back in the day.
Oh, wow. That's absolutely fantastic. And that's definitely true, because there was a series of videos, speaking about with Fruits Basket actually, where it was several of the cast members, even Caitlin Glass, talking about like what they wanted to achieve with the reboot series, and then talking about like taking more inspiration and adapting it more from the manga compared to how the first series was done, which was absolutely true. That's just fantastic.
There was such a thrill that came back, and even a bigger thrill that I got to keep my role, because I thought for sure they'd recast me. I mean, what an opportunity. If you're going to reboot a show, that would be the great opportunity to go ahead and completely recast.
Absolutely. I think that's fantastic that they brought all the cast members back for that series, and that's just absolutely wonderful. But talking about a little bit more with regards to like series that you worked on, when working across a series where your character is quite prominent or is the main character of a series, do you have an idea for where the story is going, or is everything recorded out of context?
It's generally not recorded out of context. We're working on a project now that, they've got two different studios working on the same show, and so one group might have episode, 1 through 8, and then the next studio has 9 and up. And so I've just finished the end of a particular show, and I still have yet to go back and record the episodes leading up to that. But that's the only time that it's really going, that it's disjointed like that. And pretty much, starting, all the way from my first character, Dr. Giraud, like when we were recording and then I saw my head get smashed, I thought that was pretty much it. I thought that I was out of a job. I didn't know that I was ever going to get, cast on something again. I'm so glad that I was wrong. But it's been like that. You don't know really where it's going unless you take the time to read ahead. But that's presuming that a voice actor is focused just primarily on anime, and that's just not the case for anyone that I know. Everybody has to have their fingers in a lot of different pies to keep everything together, because it's hard to make a living on just anime, and of course unless you're Chris Sabat.
That's definitely true.
Who hired me? He was the one who I auditioned for at the beginning.
Oh, wow.
He's the one who cast me, yeah.
That's fantastic, and that's really amazing about how you mentioned about with reading ahead, because there were a couple of the actors I thought back to that I interviewed on HannaTalk was with Aaron Roberts and Amberly Connors, who are huge fans of the manga and the anime. And Aaron Roberts actually said to me that he read the manga for several anime that he worked on, as for him, in his own words, because I want to give off the best performance I can give, and because I'm a huge fan of this sort of stuff. But on the other side of that, you've got Joshua Seth, who's best known from the Dragon Ball franchise, who said to me that I got one bit of advice from an actor, and he said, don't read ahead or look ahead. Be surprised in the moment.
Yeah, and that's something that's, some voice actors have come in as having been fans originally. A lot of us who started in here in Dallas, we were a lot of stage-trained actors. And what you learn in stage training is that when you're reading script, you pay no attention to the stage directions, because they're going to be reinterpreted by your director anyway. So it's best bet not to have some preconceived notions. I get a lot of character parts, so I really enjoy coming in and being influenced by the various directors that we work with. And everybody's different. Everybody has their different opinions. And certain directors cast me routinely in certain roles. Others let me explore a range.
Right.
Which is really good.
That's fantastic.
That's the best experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd say I like to come in with no preconceived notions. That's the way I like when I direct students. That's how I like to direct them.
Right.
Fresh.
Right. That's absolutely fantastic. Now, looking across your entire career, now you've been known for playing across a variety of villains in many of the works that you've done. Have you always been drawn to playing villains as an actor?
Not necessarily. My first guy was a villain, but on stage, I'm usually more of, a character actor. I played, or in my 20s, I played a lot of young people on the stage, but and I don't think I'm trying to think. I don't believe I ever had a villain role until anime.
Wow.
And you're right. I do get to play a lot of villains, and I love that. I love them all. I love my narrator roles. I love my Hattori Soma. Good guys like that. I love the dads. I love the coaches. Teachers that I get to play. I like that. I like that range.
That's fantastic. That's absolutely
not locked in.
Absolutely, because typically when you think about a lot of actors, for that matter, especially like within voiceover work, you always somehow know that they're known for playing like a specific range of characters. Obviously, when like Chuck Huber, for example, he can play across a variety of characters, but most of the characters I've seen him across in has been in villains. With Chris Sabat, he's been known for playing really rough and gruff type of characters, heroes or villains. But then when he did Ayame Soma in Fruits Basket, it was like jumping to the other end of the spectrum. It was like, wow, I never would have expected that. But it was just equally fantastic. It was just amazing.
But that role all of those roles originated when there was just a small core of us actors working on things. So that's why, we rarely get multiple roles in the same show now. But I mean, all the way back in, the Dragon Ball franchises, we were all playing multiple characters. So
Absolutely.
they kind of just worked with the same team. So, that was true for Chris.
Absolutely. And speaking about, of course, with Dragon Ball, now you're best known to fans for playing across the entirety of the Dragon Ball franchise, from the original right down to Dragon Ball Super. What was it like stepping into the world of Dragon Ball for the first time?
Wow, because that was my first experience with anime, period, other than the Speed Racer shows that I grew up on as a kid. But we didn't call that anime. We didn't even realize that was, not American made at the time. We had no clue about that. It was just another show that came on. And an extremely violent one compared to what the American programming that was coming out. The very sanitized programming. So, stepping into Dragon Ball, it was almost shocking. But at the same time, it was early in recording, and we were using reel-to-reel, and we were using paper scripts. We use none of those tools now. Everything is so much more facile. Everything's on a screen. We have QuickTime now, but when we started, we didn't have those tools. So everything took so much longer to record. So we were paid, for many, many, many more hours for the same amount of work.
That's fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. And it's definitely true about the fact that Dragon Ball was quite a really violent series. For what it was in its time, I think even before One Piece came into the picture, which took it up to the next level in that sense. And for me, what really fascinated me about the first Dragon Ball series, and especially with Dragon Ball Z, was the sense of adventure in the series, like them exploring new locations for the first time in the Dragon Ball series, and being that idea about exploring going on adventures, going to new locations, but also going into the more martial arts idea before it started going to the more power-ups that people associate with Dragon Ball nowadays, which is just fantastic. Now, speaking about, of course, with the future of Dragon Ball, now, we, of course, have the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, which brought Broly back into the continuity of Dragon Ball. Is there anything that you personally want to...
Isn't it great, this franchise that continues to just reinvent itself?
Absolutely. It definitely does. It's just fantastic. Is there anything that you personally want to see and explore in Dragon Ball going forward in terms of stories and in terms of characters?
it's like Japan is just like printing money, with anything they make with that show. So, anything is good. I feel like those of us who started at the beginning, if our characters, keep moving forward, I have the distinction of being able to play opposite myself as both Supreme Kai and Elder Kai, So I record one character and then I get to use my own voice to play off of for the other character. But I have no clue as to whether or not that those characters are going to carry on, or if they're going to revive somebody else like Mercenary Tao,
Absolutely, but I think at this point, if they could manage to bring Broly back into the continuity of the main Dragon Ball series, I think anything is possible at this point.
Yeah, anything's possible.
Absolutely. Now we've got ourselves a couple of fan questions here, and this first one is from Joel Bell. Shout out to you, Joel, for an awesome question. Who asks, how hard is it to match the English dubbing with the lip movements in any anime project you're involved in?
It's so much more facile now than it was when we were beginning. I mean, that was just such a tricky deal. Everybody was learning how to do this work when we started. Sabat had I think he was just a recent college graduate, so all those guys were, in their, 20s, very young, in their early 20s. Yeah, I was in my 30s, yeah. And, we just had to learn ourselves forward. No one knew where the future was going to go. We thought maybe it was going to be like the pet rock of the 70s. It was going to be here and then gone. We didn't realize that it was what it would grow into, now. That the relevance would be so maintained. We never thought. I mean, it was just a shock that they had a Fruits Basket reboot, and then it keeps going on. It's exciting. And here as actors in Dallas, it used to be the agent. They didn't care anything about our anime recording, our dubbing. It was like the least of jobs that you could have here. So, that has completely flipped.
Absolutely.
I think I went off the question. I might do that. I tend to ramble.
No, that's fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. And he also asks another question here on Dragon Ball. What was your favorite characters to voiceover, the Kais or the androids?
The Kais. Just because the dialogue in the games and in the series is just so much fun. And I think it's also because, those are the characters that carried forward over time. So as we got better at this thing called, dubbing, it became more of a focus. So I feel like I've spent more time with those two guys in particular than Dr. Giro.
Absolutely. I've definitely noticed that quite a fair bit. I mean, even though they have brought back Dr. Giro into the video games at several points in the series, at several points across the franchise, the Kais have been the one that have gone on forward from the original Dragon Ball series right into Super and whatever future series they have going on next, which is just fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely.
I feel very lucky here.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Joe Bell, for awesome questions. Those are fantastic.
And thank you. I hope I answered them adequately.
Absolutely. And to all the listeners out there who'll be hearing this interview once it's finally up on YouTube, be sure to comment below for any guests I announce I have on HannaTalk, for any fan questions, any messages, because they are fantastic. Keep it up, because they are fantastic. Now, you also played across in several other series. As mentioned about before, you played in Fruits Basket, in both the original and the 2019 version as Hatsui Soma, but speaking about, of course, with reboots and remakes, you also played Father in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. What was it like working across both those series?
In what sense? You mean the difference between the different roles?
I guess more in the sense of like working across both those series, not just with Fruits Basket the original, but also in the 2019 version, but also working on Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood as Father. And did you ever watch the original animated Fullmetal Alchemist?
I never did. I hope that's not a sin, but I never did.
No. That's absolutely fantastic. And as mentioned about, of course, with Fruits Basket, in both the original and 2019 version, What was it like playing on that series, especially coming back into the remake of the series?
Wow, I was really, my chief concern, if, since my voice had aged over all that time, when my son, when I started, my son was 12, and he came on, he played originally the Jerry Jules, the young Kyo character in those first episodes, but he's 29 now. So I figured my voice had aged out and it would no longer be relevant, but I was happily able to, kind of get back in that mode. He's a unique character for me because I don't usually get to play somebody so dry. If you've noticed at all, I'm fairly animated in my speech. I highly energetic kind of guy, which works well with the work with kids that I do. But so he in particular is a departure for me. He is the guy that I am not. Although we are both dragons.
Ah.
I think I might be the only actor who actually shares the zodiac with my character.
Oh wow, that's fantastic. Yeah. That's absolutely amazing. And speaking about, of course, with obviously talking about with Fruits Basket and Fullmetal Alchemist, because both of those series have been through several remakes, but we've also had a lot of anime that have come back and done revivals over the years. What's been your opinion about anime, like going through revivals or being rebooted?
I'm sorry, one more time?
Sorry. So, what's been your opinion with regards to anime, particularly about Fruits Basket and Fullmetal Alchemist being remade for like new audiences, especially considering we had the original series back for those two shows? What's been your opinion about them doing reboots or revivals of those two shows?
Well, as a performer, I'm completely jazzed about it, especially if I'm the one that's getting, to be recast, or maintain a character like with Fruits Basket. But it's also surprising too, like, is this something that people really do still want to see? This still matters. Dragon Ball is still relevant. It's amazing. I would have thought that like so many things, it would just become part of history.
Absolutely. I think that's definitely true.
Yeah.
But I was and I have to mention, of course, this with having seen Fruits Basket, which goes into my next question here. Now, I did a review talking about the Fruits Basket series when season 1 dropped last year, where I described it, just like Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, it was one of the best remakes of any anime series in a long time. It was amazing.
I think so. Great. It's definitely fresh. I mean, that's something about the look. I mean, here we had our experience in the beginning was, with all the Dragon Ball, and as far as we were concerned, that's what anime just looked like, all of anime. And then came Yu Yu Hakusho, and it seemed more fresh, more modern. It had the whole demon, the spiritual aspect. It was a little different than in the Dragon Ball. But then here comes Fruits Basket, and it's with its all very soft colors and a completely different feel. We were really starting to wake up to see, like, the possibilities of what Japanese programming was like, and how vastly different from our American programming that was. And then to have it so refreshed. I mean, somebody had said, like, Hattori was hot Tori. I've seen a couple of pictures of him, with his shirt unbuttoned a little bit. So I like that. I don't always get to play a sexy character like
that. That's fantastic. Well, it was definitely an amazing series. And now, of course, we've got season two happening at the moment. And, of course, we have the final season coming up as well. What do you personally...
Just recorded my last lines last week on this current season.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And now, of course, we have the third and final season, which they've, of course, announced just this year, I believe. And now, of course, we have the Fruits Basket sequel that they're writing the manga for as we speak. What is it you personally want to explore in Fruits Basket going forward?
You mean in terms of my character? I was about to answer for Hattori. Like, finally have a mate. Wow, that's a good question, and I'm not sure I have a very good answer for that. More keeps becoming. It's so hard to answer when nobody has seen the episodes that we've been recording. So I mean, I feel like to answer that, I would end up revealing what I shouldn't.
No, that's.
But I'm one who likes the whole zodiac aspect. The fact that there is a curse. I know that some would like to see, sometimes even the characters, want the curse of the family lifted. But I'm as an actor, like I love that aspect. Being touched by a member of the opposite sex and turned into a little seahorse with X's for eyes. I love that. I think that's amazing. It's so unique to me in anime and among the characters that I've played. It just adds an element, a thrilling element. And having worked with Laura Bailey, I was working on stage with her in Dallas when they were casting for Meredith McCoy's character in her android in Dragon Ball, and Laura did not get that part, and she was just devastated. But of course, you see, where she stands in anime history. But again, none of us knew where it was all going. She was a teenager when she started, so I don't know. Anything that furthers these stories along is good to me.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. Now, you also played across in series such as Ace Attorney as the judge and One Piece as various characters, particularly Captain Kuro. What was it like playing across those series?
That one is such a tricky series. Dallas has only so many male actors. So that series has so many parts for male actors. And it became an issue as to, can we use this actor, Kent, who just played Captain Kuro, can we use him, or how soon do we have to go, into the series before he can have another part again? Like I had Clover in there. There was Shura before there was Captain Kuro. So I think I've played a few different guys in that show. As many of us actors here in town have. Of course, now it's a little different. So it used to be that we just, here in Texas, I don't know what your audiences know about Texas, but here in the States, if you're from Texas, we think of ourselves as being pretty big stuff. We call Dallas Big D. And now we use actors from all over Texas. We use them from a lot of men and women are cast out of Los Angeles. So the market has just really opened up.
Absolutely.
Of course, with recording technology. Sorry about all of the sounds and the notifications coming through my computer here.
That's perfectly fine. But no, that's absolutely fantastic. And I think when you were talking about with regards to audiences knowing about all that kind of stuff. I mean, obviously for really big anime fans or people that understand the voice acting industry, they understand obviously we understand the biggest scenes to land voiceover work has been either New York, Los Angeles, or Dallas, Texas, as far as I know. But that's definitely.
I love that about our city is that we're such. I mean, Funimation is a terrific local employer for actors here in town.
Absolutely.
It's to be a destination, to be the southern coast, if you will. We have the east, we have the west, but Texas being sort of like the southern coast, in between the two. Great. We need that.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. And talking more about with regards to One Piece, now there has been the talk of them developing a live-action series. What has been your opinion on anime being adapted for live action?
Well, I think it just broadens the audience. I mean, the reinvigoration of the Dragon Ball franchise, that definitely came after the live action. And I watched it. Some people didn't like it. I thought it was fun. So I feel like the more the better. You know, does that mean that we all get to move onto the screen? Absolutely not. So we know that. But you know, just the fact that our characters, you know, that we get to portray, you know, in anime, you know, have an extended life. That's great. I'm all for it.
Absolutely.
More of it.
Absolutely. That would be fantastic. That would be amazing. Now, we've spoken about, of course, several of the revival series in anime, but if you wanted to do a revival of one other anime you've worked on, what would you want that to be?
You know, I get a lot of fan votes for Yu Yu Hakusho. And I would certainly love to revisit that. And I think that's something that we've asked around with each other. You're like, well, now that Fruits Basket had a reboot, what's next? We're starting to get expectant.
Absolutely. That would be fantastic. That would be amazing. And following on from that, if you wanted to do a spin-off of one project you've worked on, what would you want that spin-off to focus on?
Ooh. You know, the big, fun, thrilling show to be a part of among us Funimaniacs, voice actors, is, you know, anything having to do with My Hero. My Hero Academia.
Yes, that's right. My Hero Academia.
Now, I did audition for Mr. Compress. It was just, I was asked to send in an audio file, and then Colleen Klinkenbeard cast me. So happy. So happy. Yeah, just like you had asked before, you know, do we expect anything? No. You don't have that luxury, or at least I don't. You know, there may be some other actors who get to, you know, pick and choose what they do, or, you know, had at one time. But you know, as fandom goes, you know, people popularity, you know, rises and falls, right?
Absolutely. That's definitely true in that sense.
New actors keep coming in. I mean, isn't that you know, we always want someone, you know, who's next? Who's the next?
That's definitely true in that sense, but I think in the fact alone that, like, when you look across a series, for example, that have lasted for as long as they have, or have such really big followings, in the case of, like, Dragon Ball with Fullmetal Alchemist, and of course with My Hero Academia, there's so much potential, I think, for them to do spin-off series, especially focusing on characters that really didn't have enough time on screen, or really just where the fans were like, you know, why can't...
Well, when you asked that question, Simon, my mind went directly to Mr. Compress. Like, I want more of him in my life, my personal life as an actor.
Absolutely.
Mr. Compress. Really enjoy his character. I haven't gotten to play somebody quite so flamboyant before. That's something I would like to see, you know, come about. If not the reboot of Yu Yu Hakusho, you know, I feel like, you know, more from that My Hero, which I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but it feels like it's just as popular here in the States as Dragon Ball, if not more so.
Wow, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, it's a big property over here.
That's fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. That would be amazing.
That's the show that actors, salivate over right now. You know, when a new batch of villains is going to come out, or they're going to add another character, you know, who is going to get to be cast? It's such a deal.
Absolutely, and I think you could almost say the exact same thing about with regards to One Piece, which to this day forward is still going on, even last year having its 20th anniversary as well, which is amazing. And to this day, they're still writing the manga for the anime, for the series as we speak, and the creator has said, I'm not even close to finishing this yet. But the fact alone that, like, you have so many actors and cast members wanting to go on such a really big show because of how popular it is, like in the case of One Piece or Dragon Ball or My Hero Academia, who wouldn't want to sign up for something like that? That would be amazing.
I can't imagine. I mean, people have shown up before, just at the doorstep of Funimation, you know, just pressing their faces and fingers against the glass, you know, wishing they could get inside for just that chance, you know. And it worked for some actors, like Michael Solasad. I think there's some other folks that just kind of, you know, sort of came in as a fan and were successful.
Wow.
And continue to be.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
but for the most of us, we kind of stumbled in at the beginning. What's this? and fell in love with it. It is. I tell you what. In doing the dubbing here in town, it's like a work. It's a gym. It's a workout. Those of us who get to record frequently enough, it really strengthens you as a recording artist for any other work that comes along, for any commercial. You are ready, because with anime, it has to turn over fast. You have to be able to deliver quickly. You do not want to give multiple takes. The goal is, of course, as an actor, is to ace it. You watch it in the Japanese, you read along with the lines, and then you drop it right in. They say you put it in the mouth. It is to be desired to be able to move along quickly.
Absolutely.
So it's a great workout.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. And where do you hope to see yourself with regards to acting in the long run?
Well, I feel like there's no end to the stories. We haven't heard of the last anime yet. Those stories just keep coming, and of course there's how it segues into video games, and of course then the live action dubbing. We dub also a lot of live action films. Some are live action and some are animated. Different countries. I've done a French prison horror film, and those come through Funimation as well. So, we're ready kind of for anything. It just doesn't seem to end. I've looked up at Anime News Network. That's always my reference as to who did I play? How many have I done? And I'm astonished, and of course proud to display to people in my family. I have nieces and nephews who are old enough now to watch anime, and I finally became a relevant actor within my own family. I have college-age nephews, and they are so popular among their friends because their uncle is an actor in one of their favorite shows. I love that. That is, that's probably the best reward of all, is the regard from fans.
Absolutely. It's definitely interesting about how you mentioned that, because obviously when I go to comic conventions to this day forward, and I see people lining up for the voice actors and I will say this, I will continue to say this to the very day I die, but if people were to ever come up to me and ask me, why is it you still go to comic conventions? I say I go to meet the voice actors. They're my rock stars right there.
Oh, and you just said that's exactly how people describe us, that you are rock stars. And, I still have trouble seeing it that way. I just don't, because that's just not how I view myself. But it's such a thrill. That is my favorite thing about the conventions. I'm kind of awkward when I go to conventions, and I go to very, very few here. I think I went to all of 2 in 2019. One thing is I'm very busy in the other part of my life and the other part of my career. But when I go, my favorite thing is the fan interaction. If I could just not do panels and things like that, if I could just have the one-on-one with people, it is so thrilling for me. It's so refreshing. That's where I get supercharged, just as a human.
Absolutely.
Is that interaction? I adore it. The hugs, the taking the pictures.
That's fantastic, and that's definitely.
It is the best.
That's definitely true. And I think as Disney actress Katie Lee described it, is that voice actors were famously anonymous.
It is so funny. It is so funny. I went to a PopCon with my buddy Todd Habercorn in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and I was just hanging out with him. And he was talking to me while he was signing autographs, and then a fan of his said, "You're Kent Williams." And I had asked, how in the world would you possibly know? And he's just like, "I could tell by your voice." That was a thrill. That was probably one of the biggest surprises and thrills that I've had, as an actor, just as an unintentional person, thinking that I was so anonymous, and then somebody just recognized my voice. I don't think I sound like any of my characters. People say I'm closest to the Supreme Kai, that soft, breathy kind of voice, but I don't know.
But no, that's absolutely fantastic. That's just wonderful. And without going into any spoilers, what's next for Kent Williams for the fans to know about?
Ooh, let's see. I'm trying to remember what is new, what is coming out. Things that we've recorded. Like I just said, I just recorded my last lines for this most recent season of Fruits Basket. Let's see, I have not recorded any Mr. Compressed since April. And I don't know how to answer that, Simon, because I honestly did not do my homework before this interview to know what I could speak about and what I could not. If you were to mention a show, then I would open up my book, but I don't know what to tell you.
No, that's absolutely fantastic.
I'm trying to count, there's probably about just shy of a dozen different shows that have happened between now and the beginning of the whole COVIDity of our lives. Since we started recording at home in April, there's been just shy of a dozen new shows. But of course that includes, Fruits Basket and My Hero, but those are probably the only two properties that I feel confident about mentioning.
That's absolutely fantastic. That's just
some of my favorite roles that I've worked on. There's one. There's a show that I said I just got cast on, and I'm so excited. I can hardly wait to do it, and I can hardly wait to hear how fans feel about it. It's juicy. It's so good.
That's fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. And so looking forward to Fruits Basket Season 2 when all the episodes officially drop. And of course, your future projects as well, because that's just fantastic. And
yeah, it is.
Absolutely. And final question, what do you think old Kai would say if he was in Australia?
Chukas. I don't know why I was saying that. I worked with an Australian lady, and she would say chukas all the time backstage. And then she would pinch us on the cheek when she did it. But I don't know what it means. I hope it's not dirty.
I'm sure it isn't, but that's fantastic. That's just absolutely wonderful.
Real Kai, A little pinch on the cheek there.
That's absolutely fantastic. That's just wonderful. Kent Williams, thank you so much. It's been an absolute honor.
Thank you, and thank you for your patience with technology and me with technology.
No, but it's been an absolute honor. And is there anything you would like to say to the fans out there in Australia and in the world?
Oh my gosh. Bring me over. I told you, Australia has been on my personal bucket list since childhood, since I learned what a marsupial was. And my buddy Todd has been over there a few times, and I think he was one of the last humans that got to actually touch a koala, before they shut that down. So, that is my dream, is to be able to come over. I can't believe it's tomorrow where you are already.
Welcome to time conversions. They can be very confusing.
Well, we have a thing called, where we're in the fall, we fall back an hour. We have those time changes. It's so bizarre. I'm sure you guys don't do that.
Well, we're actually in the midst of summer right now, and we've got daylight savings up around here, but luckily we've got our phones and watches where they just automatically set to it straight away. So.
Oh, so you do still do that? I thought maybe it was just us on the planet. Okay.
But no, that would be absolutely amazing to see you at a convention in Australia.
Then your Christmas is a summer holiday?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
I know, it's just absolutely crazy, but no, it's...
These songs make no sense. There is no white Christmas.
Unless you're doing Christmas in July though, but I'm not sure if that's an Australian thing though. But no, that's just absolutely fantastic. That's just wonderful. Well, guys, if you'd like to find out more about Kent Williams, you can check out the links which I'll put to in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to HannaTalk, click that bell, check the notifications, check out the links, and comment below for any questions, any requests. This has been fantastic. Thank you all so much for listening. This is Simon and Kent Williams signing off. Bye for now.
Bye.